This is Tony Franklin here. Well, where's he from? Was the firm? Jimmy Page and Paul Rogers? Back in the big head days. Will you just play that rock and roll? With Joe Kay. Okay?
Oh yeah, just call me Joe, and I can play that rock and roll for you.
Let's move on to what Roth is doing in Vegas right now in 2020. The background to these 2020 shows is actually exactly where we left off, the 2007 Van Halen reunion. David Lee Roth rejoined Van Halen in 2007. They had a very successful reunion tour. I went to that tour, saw them at the old Bradley Center in Milwaukee. Very fun show. The band was in great shape. Roth sounded good. It was really enjoyable. And it got a lot of attention. People loved that he was finally back. After that tour ended, the band took a couple of years off and then resurfaced in 2012 with a new album. A new album that was made up mostly of old demos from the 70s and 80s, but still, technically new music nonetheless. And then they toured to support that. In 2013, I saw them again, and the 2013 tour was pretty funny because in 2013, the only U.S. tour dates they played that whole year was one rock festival in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. That's the show I attended. And then some other show, which I also believe was at a festival in Fresno, California. That was it for 2013. They played some shows in Japan, but as far as U.S. tour dates go, 2. So the t-shirt I bought from that show read Van Halen World Tour 2013, 2 dates. Like, with something like that, why wouldn't you just have individual shirts for the 2 shows? Whatever. Just kind of funny. But after that, 2014, 2015, they sort of toured sporadically, and it seemed that Van Halen was becoming sort of just another very successful, but just another touring act. Unfortunately, after they wrapped up some shows in fall 2015, they came to a sudden and complete stop. There has been no Van Halen action since late 2015, much to David Lee Roth's frustration. Throughout this whole reunion period and in the years past, Roth would always make snarky, jokey comments about the Van Halen brothers, saying that they'll always have their conflicts. But it didn't seem like infighting was the cause of the inaction. Even today, it's very hard to figure out what's going on because the Van Halen camp is very cloistered and very closed off. So there was no Van Halen action from 2016 to 2019. All the while, Roth is pushing for them to do shows. And I guess behind the scenes, they got close to booking gigs here and there, but each time they got close, it would get canceled. Again, much to Roth's frustration. So, after it fell through for 2019, he decided, that's it, I'm not waiting anymore. I'm restarting my solo career. And the first decision he made for restarting his solo career was going right back to the site of one of his most infamous, well, I hate to say it, but failures. Las Vegas. And he booked a series of shows, 3 dates in January, and 2 weekends this March at the House of Blues at Mandalay Bay. And with the announcement of this new residency, he also, surprisingly, made some very bold claims of basically ownership over the Van Halen brand, saying, I'm the face of Van Halen from this point on, most likely. He also said that Van Halen as a band was finished, and that Eddie Van Halen is sick. Now, he wouldn't elaborate more on that. He said it's Eddie's story to tell, not his to tell. And to his credit, that's an appropriate way to go about that. Now, regarding these bold claims, Nobody from Van Halen gave any pushback. So, as far as I'm concerned, I guess he's right. He is the face of Van Halen now. They're not working. So he books his show at House of Blues, which is a venue he's played many times before. And to his credit, that is a beautiful venue. I saw the second show in January, and I had front row balcony seats. And I got a good look at the room, and I gotta say, except for maybe a couple of standing room only areas, there's not a bad seat in the place. So I think Roth was very selective when it came to picking where he was going to play this new show. Now, the band he got to back him up was not the big gaudy Mambo Slammers from 1995, but instead a small group of talented but relatively unknown rock musicians. And this residency was going to be Roth's first full shows since the Van Halen shows of fall 2015, and his first full solo concerts since all the way back in 2006. When he reunited with Van Halen in 2007, he took that as a full-time job, and he did not do any. He didn't do any side concerts as just David Lee Roth, as some artists with solo careers are known to do. He stuck with the band, so these shows in January were going to be the first time he was playing solo dates since all the way back in 2006, which is just crazy. So I'm gonna play you a clip from something called The Roth Show, which he posts on his YouTube channel. This is meant to be sort of a hype video to kind of entice you to come out to Vegas to see the show. This should just sort of give you an idea of, like, if you're not familiar with David Lee Roth, like, this is him in a nutshell. So check this out.
Party like a rock star. Who do you think they're talking about? Bruce Springsteen, 41 shots? Sounds like a school night to me. Even that kind of sense of humor. Who are they talking about? Ed Sheeran? I'd party with it. But I don't want to party like it. We're talking about you, baby! David Lee, going to Vegas. I am you and you are me and we're all together. Yeah! Rolling bones and we finally home. Let's go to Vegas, baby.
I don't know what you call that style of talking, but this drives me right up the wall. I know a lot of people love it. I cannot stand this shtick. But, I can't really say anything more than that because despite my bitching, I did buy tickets and I went out to Vegas to go. Now, I was, as it happens, luckily already going to Vegas. I go in January with some friends to watch the NFL playoffs. And as luck would have it, Roth was playing the same weekend that my Green Bay Packers were playing. So I got to go out to Las Vegas and visit Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville, Sammy Hagar's Cabo Wabo Cantina, and then the Rum Runner bar, which is the best damn Packers bar in Las Vegas. And I got to watch my Packers beat the Seahawks. So, all in all, a great weekend. Now, before I did any of that, the first night I was there, on January 10th, I went to see David Lee Roth's show at House of Blues. For the first show for me to see of the 2020s, I feel I picked a good one. It was a great show, lots of fun, crazy loud. I don't know if it was based on where I was sitting with the speakers, but near the end of the show, it was so loud it became almost distorted, for me at least, close to the end of the night. But I had a really great time. And there were a bunch of highlights. He did this at my show as well, but the first show of the tour was Elvis's birthday, which is very appropriate because Elvis has strong connections to Las Vegas, and also David Lee Roth has some stylistic connections to Elvis. And I know he really angled to get that date. And he didn't do any Elvis songs, which I must say, I think I would have liked. But he did wear a goofy Elvis wig for a little while, and that was kind of funny. That said, I think he should have played an Elvis song, or maybe a snippet of one. As far as the set list goes, this is probably the biggest difference between what he did in 1995 and now. The show he did now, of the 19 songs or so, I think like 15 of them were Van Halen songs. So he's not doing the old Vegas Lounge Act anymore. Now he is relying on his own catalog of what people know him for. He's not trying to adapt to the city. He's trying to present himself to his fans. And he's not playing to just any, Las Vegas tourist walking through. He's hoping that his fans are going to come out to Las Vegas for a party weekend or whatever and bring their party to his show, which is more or less what I did. So as a Van Halen fan who's seen Van Halen a couple of times, I was very happy with the song selection. And unlike the dates he did back at Bally's and MGM in 95, the show I was at was a full house. And from what I'm seeing with how there's no tickets available for these March dates, I'm guessing he's going to get a full house every night. And the tickets today, even with inflation, are much more expensive than they were in 1995. So he's making a lot more money today than he did back then. There's only two things I guess I would gripe about regarding the show. The first one was, I guess, because I went to the January dates. There wasn't any merch available, and that was kind of a bummer. I would have liked to have bought a shirt. The problem with this show is that David Lee Roth is not a great live singer. His vocals were not very strong for most of the night, and there were certain parts of certain songs that sounded downright bad. I recall a couple of points where he was doing this weird, it was like he was shaking his neck to vibrate his throat to hit certain notes, which I'm sure is, an old singer's trick, which is probably only done in desperation. The only time I've ever seen anyone do that particular thing in concert was back in 2014. I saw Kansas with their old lead singer Steve Walsh, and I remember him doing that weird throat thing and thinking it was not very good. And then, no joke, a week after that show, he announced he was retiring from the band. So seeing Roth do this was not reassuring. And there were a couple of songs that maybe he should have swapped them out for different ones because he just couldn't hit the notes. Now, some defenses of this stuff is that Roth has always been a better frontman than a vocalist. If you listen to Eddie Trunk of That Metal Show, he'll tell you that even in the heyday, Roth was never a great vocalist. He would sing well on the records, thanks to good producers, but when it came to live shows, he was the front man, the Toastmaster General, the star of the show. He played that better than almost anybody else. But when it comes to just the brass tacks of singing, a little lacking. I remember Van Halen's 2013 Live at Tokyo album got a lot of ridicule for Roth's vocal performances. There's a radio station here in Milwaukee that played clips from it, and they were just laughing it up in the studio because of how bad he sounded. And that was 7 years. That was recorded 7 years before these shows. So I don't know what a band can do to get around this when the focal point of the show is having serious difficulties with his primary job. I know the band played a lot louder as an effort to cover up some of that, and to a degree it worked, but that only goes so far. I've seen videos from his recent touring dates opening for Kiss that he's probably using backing tracks and maybe lip syncing on certain parts. A lot of fans would complain about that. I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea, but yeah, it's tough. It is sort of a thing where, like, if you go to this show, you have to be prepared and you have to be okay with that he's not going to sound great. Some songs he'll sound fine, but some songs where he has to hit long and high notes, if you're paying attention, you're gonna notice. But to his credit, I should say that of all the shows I've seen over the years, I've almost never seen a crowd come alive like the House of Blues crowd did when he started the opening notes of Runnin' with the Devil. That was a genuine rock god moment. Classic David Lee Roth, classic Van Halen. So despite his vocal shortcomings, if you like Van Halen at all, there are going to be some great moments. Again, when he played Jump, the crowd got into it like crazy. For me, my favorite solo song is Just Like Paradise. So when he played that, I was really surprised and really happy for it. So the question is, do I recommend it? That's a good question. So if you're going out this March, right now, Mandalay Bay, I wouldn't necessarily plan a trip around it, but if you're going out there for like March Madness or a bachelor party or just a vacation already, if you're already going to go to Vegas and you're looking for a show to pick and you like Van Halen, yes, it's a good venue. Mandalay Bay is a beautiful resort. I remember before and after the show, my friends and I went up to the Foundation Room there, got that beautiful look at the city at night. I really enjoyed myself because it's not just David Lee Roth singing. You get all kinds of things that surround the show. They'll have merch now. He's been touring with Kiss, so there's some thought that, you know, with now that he's getting into a routine and he's had many nights worth of practice, if you will, he's going to be in better shape for these shows. I don't know how much that's worth, but something to consider. Hopefully there'll be some slight changes to the set list, but not too many changes because it was a good set list. It was a full, hearty Van Halen show. The only issue I might have is some of the tickets get astronomically expensive. There's a Jump ticket package that runs you $700 for 2 seats. Now it's a VIP package, but good Lord, that's a lot of money. So yeah, that's my recommendation. If you're out there already and for something else and you're looking for a show to see and you like Van Halen, yeah, there'll be a couple of moments where maybe his vocals aren't the best, but at the end of the day, I think you're going to have a good time. And I remember when I was out in Vegas, my friends and I got picked up by an Uber driver to go to a casino, and the Uber driver asked if we had seen any shows, and I mentioned I went to this one, and his response, without me missing a beat, was, "Oh, I heard that sucked." My friends got a big laugh out of that. So to recap, I would say in 1995, he was sort of ahead of his time in the sense that a guy like him could have some real success in Las Vegas, but the Las Vegas of 1995 was very different than the Las Vegas of 2020, and I think that town just wasn't ready for him yet. And I think his decision to sort of mimic what old Vegas was simply did not play well for that time. Now in 2020, so many acts, particularly classic rock acts, have had really successful Vegas residencies. He's no longer in front of a trend. He's just riding a trend, but it's a successful trend. The template for success in Vegas now is building on your own hits catalog. Don't get weird with it. Keep it simple. Play the songs the fans want to hear, and they will come to you. And that's what he's doing now. And then the last thing is I just sort of wonder, will there be more residencies in the future? I have to think there will be, because this is very successful, and it's very common for these successful residencies to move from casino to casino. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if at the run of these March tour dates, if he renews the contract and does more shows at the House of Blues, or if he's booked at another resort, particularly the Wynn. Just paying attention to when I go out there, it seems that the Wynn has no problem booking acts that have proven to be successful out there. So that would be what I would look for next. I wouldn't be surprised if Roth got to play at another venue like the Venetian or the Wynn. And it's not just that he's having success. I think this is what David Lee Roth loves. David Lee Roth loves to perform, and I think he loves the city of Vegas. He likes mid-sized venues. He likes a place with good sound and a good experience for the audience. He's very fan-friendly in that respect. And I think he really likes the idea of doing residencies because it gives him lots of time to practice and then also review and improve his shows. I think quality really is important to him. And that's why it makes me sort of sad that his vocals are this ongoing difficult issue, because that's the one thing you can't really fix with practice. But in every other aspect of the show, I feel he's going to do whatever he can to put out the best product possible.
And best of luck with your new podcast, Rock the World with it.